We're on Numbers chapter 17. And the first two verses are, Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and get from them a rod for each father's household, 12 rods, from all their leaders according to their father's households. You shall write each name on his rod. Now, the previous chapter described an uprising of some of the Levites, if you'll recall. Korah and others, they wanted to replace Moses and Aaron as the leader and high priest of the people. Now, in this chapter, Elohim is going to visibly demonstrate to the people who his chosen priestly tribe is and who he chooses as his high priest. There'll be no question after this event as to who is intended to serve Elohim in this manner, who is to lead them. Now, each tribe was told to bring the rod or staff or scepter or whatever from its leader. Each man was to write his name on the shaft of that staff. And the Hebrew word for rod, it's interestingly enough, it also means tribe. It's the same word. It's very appropriate to use the staff of each leader of the tribes to represent each tribe, with that being the case especially. Verse 3, And write Aaron's name on the rod of Levi, for there is one rod for the head of each of their father's households. Now the rod of Levi, that has to have Aaron's name on it. Why not Moses? Isn't he a Levite too? He's not the high priest. And Moses is the leader of all the people. He's not the head of the Levites. That would be more appropriately Aaron, like you said. He's not a priest per se. Verses 4 and 5. You shall then deposit them in the tent of meeting in front of the testimony where I meet with you. And it will come about that the rod of the man whom I choose will sprout. Thus I will lessen from upon myself the grumblings of the sons of Israel who are grumbling against you. Elohim is going to give the one he chooses a sign that all the people are going to see. There's going to be life appear out of the dead staff. Now this is a picture, it's a beautiful picture of Messiah and of Israel in the future. The connection between the rod of Aaron to Yeshua and Israel is made pretty clear by Isaiah, prophet Isaiah. In chapter 11, starting at the first verse, we read, Then a shoot will spring from the stem of Jesse. Now that word for stem in the Hebrew, it's better translated as stump. So it's saying there's going to be a dead stump there. And a shoot is going to spring from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. And the Spirit of Yahweh will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge and fear of Yahweh. And he'll delight in the fear of Yahweh. He'll not judge by what his eyes see, nor make a decision by what his ears hear. But with righteousness he'll judge the poor, and decide with fairness for the afflicted of the earth. And he'll strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he'll slay the wicked. Also righteousness will be the belt about his loins, and faithfulness the belt about his waist. Also Isaiah 27, verse 6. In the days to come, Jacob will take root, Israel will blossom and sprout, and they'll fill the whole world with fruit. And Isaiah 35, the first two verses. The wilderness and the desert will be glad, and the Arabah will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It will blossom profusely and rejoice with rejoicing with shout of joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. They'll see the glory of Yahweh, the majesty of our Elohim. So it's saying here in this one, just out of the wilderness and desert, that there's going to be a blossoming like the crocus. Now, I knew Tom was going to ask me what a crocus is, so I put one up there. I had to look it up. I beat him to it. Verses 6 and 7. Moses therefore spoke to the sons of Israel, and all their leaders gave him a rod apiece. For each leader, according to their father's households, 12 rods, with the rod of Aaron among their rods. So Moses deposited the rods before Yahweh in the tent of testimony. So the rods are placed in the tabernacle overnight. In a similar way, the body of Messiah was placed in a tomb for several nights. That which was once dead came to life. Acts 5, verse 30. The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yeshua, whom you put to death by hanging him on a stake. Once again, I don't use the word cross because that's not what the Greek word means. The Greek word stauros means stake or beam. It doesn't mean a T-shaped object. Yeah?
The rods for each tribe, would they have like a stone or something that would, so that the rods didn't all look alike?
Well, they had the names of the leader of each tribe on them too. But they may have decorated them and made them that way. What fun is it just carry around a big stick? You got to shine it up at least, don't you? That's what I think. Verse 8. Now it came about on the next day that Moses went into the tent of the testimony, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds and produced blossoms, and it bore ripe almonds. You know, each man brought in a dead rod, but the rod of Aaron sprouted, put forth buds, it blossomed, and it brought forth ripe almonds. Now, these staffs that they had, they're dead. They're dead as they can be. It's a dead piece of wood. And, that's why Yeshua was dead for 3 days, because he was really dead. Okay, that's why he was in the tomb that long before he resurrected. There was going to be no doubt that he was truly dead, and he has life also. And he says, and through him we have life. He says he's the vine and we're the branches. And when I was a kid, I would hear that. It didn't make sense to me. Well, he's talking about a grapevine, not a tree. Because that's the case here. It's in John 15, starting in verse 1. I am the true vine, my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it, that it may bear more fruit. Excuse me. You're already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. So neither can you unless you abide in me. I'm the vine, you're the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. What's it mean? What is fruit symbolic of? Works. Good works, doing good works. Why is it that apart from him, we can't do good works? How does he provide that? Okay, but how does it affect some people and not others? Yeah. Keep in mind, he puts that breath within us to have that desire to be obedient to him. If we don't have his breath, his spirit within us, you don't have a desire to follow him, to do what he says. He says that's where the life comes from. That's where he says you can bear much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he's thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. Going back to Numbers 17, verses 9 and 10. Moses then brought out all the rods from the presence of Yahweh to all the sons of Israel, and they looked, and each man took his rod. But Yahweh said to Moses, put back the rod of Aaron before the testimony to be kept as a sign against the rebels, that you may put an end to their grumblings against me, so that they should not die. So Aaron's rod is placed there in front of the ark of the testimony as a permanent testimony to the authority of the Levites, and as Aaron as high priest. Challenging that authority in the last chapter ended up in thousands being killed. And he said, we'll just avoid that now. Now, man could not approach Elohim except through the high priest. And that's still true today. We can only approach him through Yeshua, who is our high priest. And the book of Hebrews talks about that. And really, if you want to understand the book of Hebrews, you have to study the book of Numbers along with it. In Hebrews 7, starting at verse 11, now if perfection was through the Levitical priesthood, for on the basis of it the people perceived the Torah, what further need was there for another priest to arise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not be designed or designated according to the order of Aaron? What he's saying here, there's no perfection in the Torah in and of itself, or in the Levitical priesthood. It wasn't perfect. Why wasn't it perfect? Because it was men. The Torah itself, well, it being perfect, it doesn't perfect us. It tells us what to do and what not to do. That's all it does. He continues in verse 12, for when the priesthood is changed of necessity, there takes place a change of Torah also. Now that Hebrew word, metathesis, it doesn't mean change per se. It means transposition or transferal. The Torah allows a transferal of things. Originally, who were the priests? Who were the priests originally? The firstborn. And then there was a transfer of that to the Levites, if you'll recall. And he's saying when the priesthood is transferred, of necessity there takes place a transfer of Torah also. And that's true. For the one concerning whom these things are spoken belongs to another tribe, from which no one has officiated at the altar. He's saying that when there's a transfer to the priesthood of Melchizedek, the one in that's the head of that priesthood is not a Levite. So there has to be a transfer of the Torah also, because he's from the tribe of Judah. He continues, for it's evident that our master was descended from Judah, a tribe with reference to which Moses spoke nothing concerning priests. And this is clearer still, if another priest arises according to the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become such not on the basis of Torah, a physical requirement, but according to the power of an indestructible life. So Melchizedek he's not the high priest because of a physical requirement in the law, because he's a Levite or whatever, but according to the power of an indestructible life. Melchizedek showed up in Genesis. Who did he show up to? Abraham. And what did he do? What did Abraham do? He tithed to him. And he fed him. They did bread and wine. I don't know if it was a Passover type thing or not. But, and Melchizedek is, he was a priest that showed up there. And he is apparently a manifestation of the Father. Verse 17, for it is witnessed of him, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Well, that comes from the Psalms. And he talks about his son in those Psalms. You're going to be a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Well, you can't be a priest forever unless you're immortal. And that's what he's referring to. Verses 18 and 19. For on the one hand, there is a setting aside of a former commandment because of its weakness and uselessness. What was set aside? It's that Levitical priesthood. It's because of its weakness, due to man's weakness. For the Torah made nothing perfect. On the other hand, there is a bringing in of a better hope through which we draw near to Elohim. That better hope we have is that priesthood of Melchizedek, which is immortality and the resurrection. Verse 20, and inasmuch as it was not without an oath, for they indeed became priests without an oath, but he with an oath through the one who said to him, Adonai has sworn and will not change his mind, you are a priest forever. So much more also Yeshua has become the guarantee of a better covenant. Okay, going back to Numbers 17, verse 11. Thus Moses did, just as Yahweh had commanded him, so he did. Then the sons of Israel spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, we perish, we're dying, we're all dying. Everyone who comes near to the tabernacle of Yahweh must die. Are we to perish completely? The people had to understand whoever attempts to approach Elohim on their own merit is going to perish completely. They'll die. We can't work our way into his favor. That doesn't work. We are utterly hopeless in our efforts. And our only hope is through faithfulness that we get through Yeshua, Messiah. He's our high priest. That enables us to stand before the throne of Elohim himself. In Hebrews 10, starting at verse 19, we read, "Since therefore, brethren, we have confidence to enter the holy place by the blood of Yeshua, by a new and living way, which he inaugurated for us through the veil, that is, his flesh. And since we have a great high priest over the house of Elohim, let us draw near with a sincere heart and full assurance of faithfulness, having our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water." Hebrews is a difficult book if you just read through it and try to understand it. When he says, having our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, what does that mean? What's he talking about? Yes, it's the breath of the Father within us. Changes our wants and our desires to be more what he wants our wants and desires to be. And like I said, he still wants us to be ourselves. Okay? All we do is just avoid sin, but still be yourself. And like I said a few weeks ago, you can still be a Razorback fan. That's fine. You can't be a Longhorn fan, though. Go to hell. Well, maybe not, but it's in Psalm 1969 is what that. Any questions on that chapter in Numbers? Yeah.
What was the word that you had the definition you said several slides back?
Yeah. Change.
Yeah.
Metathesis.
That's our word, metamorphosis.
Right.
Mm-hmm. To change, to grow.
Right. Right. And in this, it means something similar, but it's transferal, really. And that's all it is. It's just a transfer, a change. Like, for instance, when Elohim told Abraham, I want you to sacrifice your son. Go up to the top of the mountain, you're going to sacrifice your son. And at the top of the mountain, he was going to go through with it. And he let him substitute a ram for his son.